I am so proud to live at this time, to see the protests that hit the street after George Floyd. It was a coming together of the old people and the young folks and, the Blacks and Latinos and Asians and Muslims and, Baptists and Catholic and Jews and all of that, because this moment of George Floyd, having lost his life at the knee of a police officer, and the world could see so plainly the abuse of that, the outrageousness of that, really did catapult them into action. And that's what I think is happening to this country now. Change is taking place. And I can't leave Black Lives Matter out of that because they are part of all of this in the way that they have emerged and the way that they have worked. So I'm delighted to witness what is going on. I'm delighted to be a party to it. And I'm looking forward to a strong campaign with Kamala and with Biden. And I think for any mistakes that they have made in their past, that's over with. But I think for many people that we have worked with for years who have not done the right thing, not said the right thing, and whether we're talking about Biden or the Congressional Black Caucus and the crime bill, you'll never see that happen again. Change is taking place. And I think go forward on a progressive agenda and leave behind us those who were so traditional and those who were trying to work in ways that would get the support that they needed in order to try and have these careers. I think that's over with. And I think that we're going to see progress.
That's a powerful statement and a powerful prediction. And since you brought it up, the crime bill, obviously the Trump administration and campaign have an agenda to target Black men and to turn Black men off. So they're going to bring up the crime bill. They are going to bring up Kamala Harris's history as a prosecutor, which frankly, when you examine it, is not the worst record of all. People make a big deal out of things that really didn't happen. But tell us a bit more about your feelings about that. Do you think that voters on our side and those we need to win over are of a frame of mind that whatever their feelings about those past issues are and were, that they really are ready to move on and prioritize getting rid of Trump?
I really do. And I really do think that Trump has defined himself. He's a racist. He's a liar. He's a deceptive human being. He's a divider. All of the worst things that you could see in any human being. He is a flawed character. And that's undeniable. And I think people kind of see that. Even the people that support him, they know who this man is. But for those who voted for the crime bill, and he can come up with all of the legislation that he would like to put out there to talk about being tough on crime. The same people, many of them who voted for the crime bill, they'll never do that kind of thing again. Change has taken place and it will continue to take place. I'm extremely optimistic, not only legislators, but people out there, the voters, in various communities. I think that they've been touched by what they have seen. And I want to tell you, the video that I saw that showed us more about what happened with George Floyd, even before the knee was on his neck, and the way he was pulled out of his car, the way he was crying, the way he was begging, the way he called on his mom, the way he knew that he was going to get killed, that he was going to die. It has shaken us to our very core. And I do think that change is taking place by many of the people who never thought that they would be supporting police reform, for example, pay equality, talking about openly racism. You remember when the press couldn't even use the word racism and
Right.
didn't use it? So I'm feeling extraordinarily optimistic, and I don't care what Trump comes with. I believe that we're going to defeat him. And I believe that when we take a look at what is happening up in New York with that Southern District, that they have the goods on him. And that, I do believe that when he is not reelected, that he could be criminally charged with the crimes that he's committed and that he could go to jail.
Do you have, since you brought him losing and getting kicked out of office, do you have any concerns that he is not going to leave, that he's going to try not, that he's going to have to be carried out of the White House?
I do. I have some concerns because he is doing several things now. First of all, he retweeted something where somebody tweeted that there may be a civil war if he is not reelected, and he retweeted that, which means that he's buying into that. Secondly, I believe that he has shown us that he's willing to do the unthinkable as he tries to have his way and to win on the issues that he cares about. We never thought that we would have a president that would openly embrace Putin and Russia, given the history of Russia. We never thought we would see a president who would not only embrace Putin and Russia, but would defend them and would not speak out against them, even though they knew that he had undermined our democracy. I want to tell you, to the left and the right, people stand up for the democracy for the most part, and to have a foreign entity that hacks its way into your Democratic Party and even your Republican Party, and who now is known to be interfering with our election, and you still cannot condemn them, and you stand up. We never thought we would witness anything like that. And then, of course, he's shown us that he loves the kind of power that a dictator exhibits and a dictator has. For example, he loves Kim Jong-un because he's in total control. And he likes the idea of him being the commander-in-chief, controlling the military. And he wanted a parade with all of the machinery and the equipment and the tanks and everything, in Washington, D.C. And then, attacking our protesters, he rolls out with the military beside him, basically gassing, So I do believe that he may try it, because he's already saying that the elections, the Democrats are going to have a fraudulent election, that all of these absentee ballots are going to be fraudulent. And so he's given us some indications of what he's capable of. And I wouldn't be surprised that he has to be taken out.
The senators on the Senate Intelligence Committee who were asking for information they've learned recently to be declassified about what Russia is doing now for the 2020 election remind me of you in 2016 after you all had that classified briefing with James Comey. And you said, I can't talk about it, but let me just say the FBI director has no credibility.
That's right.
And it was clear because obviously we learned later what you knew early.
Yes.
That he was not announcing to the public what Russia was doing and that he was investigating.
That's right.
But he announced to the public that he was investigating Hillary Clinton. So when I hear them say that, it reminds me of the concerns you raise, and we ought to be concerned about it. But back to Kamala Harris, you predicted she would be the nominee.
Yes.
Why is she the best nominee Joe Biden could have chosen?
Well, I do believe that, arriving to the point where you will possibly be on the national stage of this country is a big moment. And so much is going on that you have to understand, that you have to manage. And so I think that it really does take some experience to do that. It takes you having gone through, the tough times and the good times and the bad times and the unknown times and all of that. She ran in the state of California, was reelected twice. This is a big state, and it's a diverse state. And in order to do that and to be successful at that, you have to know kind of what you're doing and understand how to deal with diversity, etc. In addition to that, she was elected to the United States Senate, and she came upon the scene well prepared. As a prosecutor, she was able to grill down in her, efforts to get those witnesses to reveal, really what was on their minds and what they had done, and take apart what they were saying. And that was extraordinarily impressive. But the other thing is this: for an African American woman to choose, the career that she chose was unusual.
It
We
was.
were not choosing careers as prosecutors, as district attorneys and attorney generals. That was basically the domain of white men doing that. And we've had a lot of problems in that area getting justice because of the way that they have managed to keep us out of being treated fairly. And so she comes from that, jumps into and get elected to the United States Senate, demonstrates her capability and her competence, sitting on that Judiciary Committee. But then she said, and I'm running for president of the United States of America. And that takes a lot of confidence. And so in running, she rolled out with a huge campaign with all of 20,000 people or more showing up at her announcement in her hometown, which looked extraordinarily well. And she moved on and she learned a lot. She learned that as you move across this country, running for president of the United States, you've got to have a lot of money. You've got to have a lot of resources. You've got to have a lot of support. And so her campaign ended, but she learned an awful lot in that experience. Who else that was being considered had that combination of experiences to their credit? None of them have. And even those who pointed to things they didn't like about her, they had to conclude that yes, she had the experience. She certainly, was intelligent and competent. And so she, in my mind, was going to be the one that would be picked. And a lot of people say, well, how she attacked Biden and how she, made a lot of people unhappy. And certainly he, is unhappy and he'll never forget that. I never believed that. I never believed that because once you run for president, you have to forgive. You have to forget some things. You have to do what is in the best interest of your becoming president and what you think is in the best interest of this country. So I always thought that she was number one in the consideration.